Alright, hello guys, welcome to another video at CarTips. In today's video, we'll be changing the drive belts on this here 2007 WRX. It's a little different video than usual, not a painting video, but hey, it's my car, so we're doing some maintenance. And we're changing the AC belt, as well as the power steering and alternator belt. These belts are squeaking on me upon cold startup, so it's time to do the maintenance. These are the only tools I'm going to use today. 3/8 ratchet, extension, 12mm deep socket, 12mm shallow socket, and a 10mm deep socket. That's all that's required. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove this bolt, as well as this one here, to remove the cover. So these are 10mm nuts and bolts. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to loosen this bolt here that holds the alternator in place. Just loosen it, not take it out. Also, just loosen that one and loosen that one. What that's going to cause is the alternator to move down and get this belt loose. Now you start with this one, and I'm using a deep 12mm socket. So just loosen that up. And all three of these bolts are 12mm. Now I'm using a short, shallow 12mm socket. You loosen that one, and you're going to loosen this one. You see how the alternator is coming down now? Now the belt is getting more loose. I'm going to keep going for a little while. Push that down. Almost. And now you can go ahead and slide this belt off. First this one, and then off the harmonic balancer down below, and then off the power steering pulley. And there we go, voila. Now this belt isn't too terribly worn. It doesn't have any cracks or anything, but I'm just gonna go ahead and replace it anyways, because I think that this belt is the one that behind it is the one that's squeaking. So I just went ahead and I ordered two, just so get this done. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and loosen this bolt, which is connected to this idler pulley here. Just loosen it up, and then the top bolt right here that goes straight down, that bolt we're going to start loosening, and that will cause this belt to be loose and slip off as well. Okay, so once again I'm grabbing the short socket, 12mm, and I'm just going to loosen this pulley. And it's not too tight from the factory, I don't think. So now that that's loosened, I'm going to go ahead and grab a deep one, deep 12mm, and loosen this one. You know what? I'm going to grab that extension. I'm just going to grab this extension right here so that it's easier for me. Now you just loosen this. It goes by hand. You can already tell that this belt is getting loose. Let's see. Is it loose enough to slip off? Just about. All right, so I think that's good. Yep, this belt looks to be much more worn. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it is starting to crack. It looks really dry, so that's why we're replacing it. All right, so here's a quick tip. If you got confused which one is which, the thicker belt is the first one that we took off, and the more narrow belt is the second one. So on your replacement belts, so on these belts, you know, they're very similar. They are very similar in length. So I can tell this one on the right is thicker. So this is the first one that I took off for the power steering as well as the alternator. And this one is just the AC pump belt, the thinner one. First, we're gonna put this on the further groove of the harmonic balancer pulley. Then we're gonna go to the idler pulley down here, and then over the power steer or the AC pump, AC compressor. So make sure that all of the grooves are aligned before you start tightening it up. Let's go ahead and start tightening in reverse order, starting with this one. So we're going to tighten this clockwise until you feel the correct amount of tension on this belt. At first it goes easy by hand. Sometimes the belt can slip off, so pause, double check to see if the belt's still seated where it needs to be seated, and continue. So when it starts to get hard to twist by hand, that's when the tension is gets applied. So now we will switch to the wrench, and don't over tighten these. You want to make sure that there is some play in these belts, but you don't want it too loose, otherwise it'll still squeal. Give it a little bit more. I'd say that's fairly tight. Now you go down here and you you tighten the bottom bolt below, if you remember that we had to untighten first. So just kind of snug it down. And that's the tensioner pulley down there. All right. Feed this one through. I'm going to start with the power steering, then move on to the harmonic balancer, and then finish off with the alternator up top, as far as like installing the belt. All right, there we are. Double check that the belt is seated in all of its grooves, all three pulleys. And it seems like it is, so we're going to go ahead and start with the top bolt here, which will apply tension, which will raise this alternator up, putting pressure on this belt. You can see the alternator coming back up, and as soon as it's really gets hard to do this by hand, you want to grab your wrench, and that's when the pressure starts to be applied, or tension, I mean, to the belt. I'm just kind of comparing to the other one. Once again, I just do this by eyeballing it, but yeah. And then once the tension is set, once again, you come down here with a short, shallow socket, and then you just tighten this down. All right, okay, so the last thing you're going to do is you're going to tighten this alternator bolt. Don't forget that. It's important not to forget that bolt. All right, so for me, before I put the cover back on, I'm going to go ahead and start up the car just to see if the tension is there, nothing slips off or falls off, or it makes any kind of noises, just to test it. Give it a nice start up before you put the belt cover back on. All right, cool. So the belts look to be fine. No squealing, no jumping or popping off, no wobbling excessively or anything like that. So let's finish this off by putting on the cover. Okay, and just how we started, we're gonna put this one back on. And those two are 10 millimeter. There we go, all done. And that is how you change the accessory drive belts on the 2007 Subaru WRX. All right guys, so that was it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Subscribe to CarTips for more tips like this in the future if you guys are interested. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.